What are the biggest mistakes? The horns.
The horns. The horns on the helmet.
Really?
Oh.
There were no horns.
Dude.
No matter if it's the movies, TV, books, or even classic opera, Vikings have been all over pop culture for centuries. They're portrayed as drunk, horned helmet-wearing, bumbling savages, raiding villages and spreading fear and fright. But Vikings were also fearlessly sailing the seven seas and, though long gone, left a cultural legacy felt all over the world to this very day. So what do we really know about these people that dominated large chunks of Europe 1,000 years ago? What were their lives really like? And most importantly to me, what did they eat? Welcome to the third episode of CuriosityStream's show, where we learn about legendary creatures and figures of the past and try to eat and cook like them. Today, we're all about Vikings and I'm on a boat. Not just any boat, although this is just a random boat, but what matters is where I am on this boat. Let me explain. In order to learn about Vikings, I had to go to the source, which is of course Scandinavia, the legendary northern part of Western Europe. Me and the team hopped on a plane to Stockholm, the capital of Sweden. These days, it's a beautiful city boasting impressive architecture as well as a bustling food and culture scene. But back in the day, before Stockholm even officially became a city, this region was one of the centers of Viking culture and activity. The reason we're here is not just to breathe some Nordic Viking air, but to get to this place, the Viking Museum of Stockholm. They graciously agreed to show us around and answer any questions we might have about Vikings and their food. And for that, we'd like you to meet Erik Östergren, archaeologist and Viking expert specializing in mythology and runes.
Ever since I was a child, my family has had a history interest. The first stories I remember from growing up, my father would tell me about like the old Norse gods and mythology. So I grew up with these things, and there are photos of me standing next to a runestone. I'm like 2 or 3 years old. But then when I was going to pick something at university, I was like, well, archaeology, it's on the first page because it starts with an A. And then I kind of got stuck. And then after a few years of working with different museums, a friend noticed that you should apply for this, Erik. And I was like, why not? The word Viking that we use, it's quite close to perhaps the word pirate. So most people, they were farmers, they wanted to get on with their lives, they would stay in their farms, and they would have long houses with their animals, they would have these fields where they grow things. Some of these farms, they perhaps would specialize in different things. They know how to make textile, they know how to make the thread, they know how to make the food, they know how to grow the land, and perhaps some basic smithing skills, and also some know how to build a ship or something. But to explain the word Viking itself, there are different theories. And one of my favorite theories, that doesn't mean it's true, it's just the one I like. But in the Scandinavian languages, a bay is called a vik, like a natural harbor. And if you have your ship in a bay, you go out from the vik and you're a Viking. In modern English, it would be like you go out from the bay and then you're a Beijing, but that's already occupied by the Chinese capital, although there are some different opinions and theories about this. When we talk about the Viking Age and Vikings, it's not easy just to pinpoint this is Vikings, but most often we focus on Scandinavia, Sweden, Norway and Denmark, but also other parts of Northern Europe. So the world of the Viking Age people, it's quite big, but it's not easy to just pinpoint like that.
Do you think it's possible to recreate Viking food today?
I would say yes, indeed. The food of the Viking Age was, of course, something that was very important, and it might feel so distant and we can't really grab it, but I think we can, because there are so many different ways we can know about food from the Viking Age. And we can read in different texts. We don't get much information. We don't have recipes from the Viking Age, unfortunately, but we can read something, and we also have archaeology. If you find pottery, they can take samples from it and check it in a lab. They can also find bones from different animals. They can find grains or cereals that make us understand more about what they would grow. So there are so many ways to approach Viking Age food, and I think that we most definitely will be able to get quite close to what it would taste like in the Viking Age, for better or worse. And I follow some groups on Facebook where they cook Viking food. And like, I want to make something with carrots, but I do know that it's not the big orange ones that were around 1,000 years ago. Where can I get proper carrots? And it's opposed these small yellow, like, it looks like, I don't know, old carrots, but still it's quite nice to really get a feeling for what things would look like. Other colors. I saw something about people putting like leek in porridge as well. So I think it's getting closer to a stew. When we were making food in the Viking Age, of course, we have this idea of the warrior sitting and having a piece of flesh on a bone, like the Gimli diet. I don't know what to call it, but that was probably quite rare because they had animals in the Viking Age. The farm needed animals. However, if you have a cow and the cow is alive, then you get milk, you get calves, you get help on the farm. If you eat the cow, that's the end of story. Meat was expensive, and perhaps kings or jarls could have meat more often. And also the same with hunting. Hunting is something that rich people have the time to do because you need to take farm of the rest of life. If we went back in time, we would probably think that the food tasted a little bit okay. It's not like a flavor explosion that we can have today after one trip to the supermarket, but there were some things to make it pop a little, and perhaps they could get salt from other places, or they would buy spices. Because of the contact net that the merchants of the Viking Age had, they could get so many different things. They would get nicer drinks perhaps, and different wares to drink from. There are different kinds of pots in the Viking Age, and either you have these clay pots that are very important for archaeologists, and ceramics are actually the most common kind of artifact that we find from the Viking Age. As I understand it, the main way to cook things in the Viking Age would be to put it on a pot and boil it. So you boil more or less everything so that you can make different kinds of stews, and then you can put in whatever you like, which is a quite efficient way to get things. And then you will get your plate and get it up on there, and perhaps with some bread or a spoon or something. They didn't use forks the way we use forks now. So spoon, knife, hands, bread, that's the way to eat. The bread of the Viking Age, we have some archaeological finds, and if you ever had bread at home and you forget it for a while, you can be like, how could something like this survive for 1,000 years when I can't have it in my kitchen for 2 weeks? They seem to be like small, something handheld. I don't know what to say in English.
A tortilla?
No, still small loaves. In Sweden, I would say a fralla, but we can't say that in English. You have no idea what a fralla is.
No.
No.
No, I can Google it.
Bread roll.
Like a roll, like a bun.
A bun.
A bun.
A bun. Yes.
Okay,
oh, they're actually called birka buns in Swedish.
Really?
Yeah.
There you go.
It's a bun. The kind of waters that we have will of course affect what kind of fish that we can find, but I think they ate like eel and stuff. So whatever fish they could get, they would cook it. I really like mustard. I make my own mustard. I'm in a group called Swedish Mustard Society. We're not very active, but still. Mustard is super interesting because of so many different reasons. And I really try to find sources for Viking Age mustard. They could have come by some mustard seeds, but I don't know of an excavation where mustard seeds have been found. I would so want Vikings to have had mustard. They deserve it. It's such a good way to make food taste good. So for most people, I think what you could grow is the most important part. Different cereals and barley and rye is very important. And with that, you can make bread, porridge, and you can also make beer. That was important to drink in the Viking Age. And most people will probably eat a lot of porridge in different ways. We must also remember that the plants have changed over the last 1,000 years. Like if you go and look at a field nowadays, we see these huge plants and they have these big grains. But 1,000 years ago, perhaps it was a completely different view that we have. So, and that's also one thing that I think we forget when we try to imagine history and prehistory, that even plants have changed. Maybe like fruits if you have them, and maybe some honey if you have it, but honey can be quite expensive. And also berries. I know in other parts of the world, when Santa comes at Christmas, you're supposed to give Santa cookies. In Scandinavia, you give him porridge. And, and if you want to be really nice to Santa, give him some porridge with butter in it. So I think that maybe buttered porridge would be something.
The Viking meal has been served. There's one more thing, because I got this from the souvenir shop of the Viking Museum. And this has to be filled with Viking ale, also known as Swedish beer, for today. Because unfortunately, we did not have the time to make our own ale. That's for the next video.
Or mead.
So, or mead. Actually, right. We learned that on a true party, you would have mead, and ale or beer would be more of a, everyday kind of drink. But that's okay. Team first.
Actually, that's a great pour because it doesn't get too much foam.
Guys, first, cheers to the epic meal and the epic adventure.
Cheers.
Cheers.
That sounds wrong. Ah, yes. Now I'm in the mood for a party. That, I gotta say, it feels very cool to drink from a horn.
Does it taste like goat?
No. I'm realizing there's one downside to drinking from a horn.
Where do you put it?
Where do you...
I told you don't have a holder or anything.
How do I...
Now you have to hold it.
Here, I'll hold it while you eat.
What? Okay. Our first course in this Viking feast is a little Scandinavian-style malty rye bun with salted butter and pickled herring topped with a little bit of mustard, Grey Poupon, and of course a little sprig of dill. Senor,
Thank you.
senorita,
Yes.
hide behind the smørbrød. So let's get a bite of this pickled herring. Sweet mustard.
Very sweet, yeah.
Sweet mustard, tangy pickled fish, a little bit of onions, rich from the butter, and malty from the rye bread.
The fish is a lot more tender than I thought it would be.
There's this a kick of saltiness, but it's still like sweet overall in the mouth.
Definitely an appetizer that wakes you up. It's pretty intense.
Yeah, very strong flavors.
Also, having Russian roots, everything that has dill tastes good to me automatically. Can I get my horn? Thank you. Ah!